All right, what's up, everybody? I'm super excited to have with me today Neil Patel from CHEQ. So, for those that don't know, there's a lot of talk about bots, scams, all kinds of crazy things going on, and of course, we need to understand to get to the bottom of it. As the industry-leading marketing and advertising expert for B2B technology companies, and a lot in particular cybersecurity, we need to be on the cutting edge when it comes to what is real traffic and what isn't, what is fraud, what's not fraud, how to properly look at your advertising data and understanding what is the true objective measures, not the measures that you want to look at, so you can actually reach your KPIs that you need for marketing and advertising. That's why I'm excited that Neil Patel and CHEQ wanted to organize this live specifically so we can help you better understand what you need to do when it comes to your marketing, your advertising, to ensure that you know how to filter out bots, avoid bots, recognize bots, all the scams and the frauds that's on the internet, not just for your marketing and advertising, but as you go around on social media. Neil, I feel like I should introduce you, but you can do better justice. So tell us a little bit about yourself and in particular what you guys are doing over at CHEQ.
Awesome. Thank you, Yoel. My name is Neil Patel. I'm on the solutions engineering team at CHEQ. We are the leader in go-to-market security, and we protect the marketing teams for everyone from the Fortune 500 companies on down from cybersecurity fraud and bots and basically anything that would kind of drain down or attack their marketing efforts.
Amazing, awesome. So first, let's jump in. The first thing I say probably that first off, if anyone has any questions, drop them in the comments. If you're on Twitter, you can also drop in the comments. I don't know if we'll pull up. If not, actually go to the link that I commented underneath. Come to LinkedIn Live, leave a comment, and within a minute we'll see it. We'll pull it up and we'll answer your questions as they come in. Ask them now, and we'll pull them up on the screen and we'll ask the questions. All right. So I guess it's hot in the news. It couldn't be more relevant. People might even think we might have coincided it with what's going on in the news when it comes to bots and Twitter, right? So Twitter's have been notorious when it comes to bots, and even to the point Elon Musk's acquisition of Twitter was put on hold, and he tried to back out when he found out that is probably much greater than the 5% bot amount that Twitter has been reporting. And so with that, how many bots did you think? Let's start with let's go backwards and we'll work our way up to today. How many bots before, let's say, Elon Musk did the acquisition were actually on Twitter? What percentage of handles would you say were bots?
Personally, I would venture to say roughly 40%.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like 30 to 60. Right. Lovely. And so now, in the news, so 2 days ago, was it? So Sunday, right? He was saying they were going to start to get rid of a lot of the bots. Now, I know they're not all gone. We're seeing them. We had our Cyfluencer, that's our cyber influencer marketing team, recognize a lot of bots. We pay for a lot of bot cleaning services and our clicks. And so we're still seeing them. But we're also took a look at our data from our advertisers on Twitter, and we actually had some interesting things that would be fun to unpack. But that being said, what have you and what has CHEQ seen recently when it comes to the bots on Twitter? Would you say, have you seen any movement with the removal of bots
To be
in the last
honest,
couple of days?
within the trials that I run with my clients, I haven't seen a material increase or decrease. It seems like it's business as usual. But like with a lot of bots, you can never know what the trigger is. Like the trigger could be Black Friday. The trigger could be Elon Musk saying something. You don't know whoever coded that bot, what they put the trigger as to make the fluctuation or increase in the attack. But the last few days, to be honest, I haven't seen a material increase or decrease.
Yeah. So I've seen, I looked at some ad budgets for some of our clients, and I'll share some now. So I looked Monday over Monday. So like yesterday, a full business day after they said they got rid of a bunch of them. And I looked at the Monday before that. And then what I actually discovered was, so impressions dropped about like 12%. So not as much as they said, let's say that they cleaned or interested. But also fascinating, we saw click-through rates increase almost 4x. So I'm thinking like either one of two ways. Either like suddenly there's a lot more bots that are clicking, or maybe that they're actually the way based of our targeting, they're serving those impressions specifically to now that are humans. So now we actually have a more appropriate and reasonable click-through rate. I know you don't know the answer, but what do you think?
I think it's so hard to pin down. It's just the nature of the neighborhood we do business in. the what and the why, the motivation as to like, you know, why the decrease or increase, as you said, might have happened, is very hard to pin down. Again, this is my personal guess. I would venture to say uh, it's probably both. It's probably due to the efforts in the of Twitter to go after and decrease their bots, and now the bot makers are kind of trying to find other ways to circumnavigate those efforts. So like the two kind of, you know, are working against each other, and that's why you're seeing all of these funky numbers.
Right. Yeah. I guess so. We really don't really know, right? Everything's moving in different directions. The
Yeah,
dust didn't settle just yet, right?
yeah.
So 40% bots. How does that even happen? Before we get to that, let me pull up Ben's questions, right? So he goes, "How do we know?" And this is probably the big question: that a user's a bot, all right, and not a real human on Twitter. A few months ago, I was replying to a comment on one of my tweets, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, is this a bot?" You know, and I was like in tracks. I was like, I don't even know if I'm communicating with a human. And sometimes you don't even know, right? Sometimes bots are that good.
Mhm.
Sometimes, most of the time, it's just scam trying to get you to click and phishing and all that. Or maybe you should speak to that. How can you tell? What's a good way to know when you know something's definitely a bot? And how can you kind of how are you able to tell when 40% of the handles are bots? How do you know?
Well, I have the luxury of the checks detection engine, and you know we're running 2,000 different cybersecurity tests and challenges that are constantly evolving as well. You know, we have our uh, engineers kind of constantly brainstorming, working against the new ways that are coming out. Um, so for me, we have a bunch of these deterministic tests that we're looking at. So fundamentally, some of the things I look at is where the traffic came from, certain behavioral aspects, some of the parameters that, you know, when they visit certain things, they pass. Uh,
Can
I'm
you give an
not really.
example so people can kind of understand? Because um, a lot of marketers, advertisers, they're not that technological. So when you talk about things, I want to understand what kind of uh, test attributes. What are people that, let's say, that you're able to filter to understand that someone's a bot? What do you look for?
Like one of the more some of the more basic ones. I think there are a lot of folks that look at these kind of tests, but these are very fundamental. They're not the best, but it's like mouse movements. If you moved it perfectly perpendicular across the screen, certain ways of navigating a website which are non-human. Um, but another way would be like through the user agent, you know. If like somebody's flipping through user agent, so if it's coming from one IP address and your user agent is basically parameters you're passing on to the website when you visit it, so the website can like render properly for the device that you claim to be on, you can manipulate the user agent. So like the only legitimate way for a user agent to change is if I upgrade my Chrome and the version changes of Chrome, or if I upgrade my OS and the version changes. But I can't go from an Android to a Mac, you know, or like from a Mac to a kind of PC. I can't switch devices, you know, completely and be on this same IP for the majority of the part. There are outliers, but those are like some of the more fundamental things. There are much what I think cooler ways that CHEQ detects it. Uh, but obviously, you know, I can't sell the farm away by telling what some of those are.
Come on, do it. Give us a hint.
um, well, okay, one of them is like the screen because um, bots, you know, to save on resources, they'll run headless. So they'll run without a monitor. You write a script, the script just runs in the background. You don't need to see what the bot is doing. So what a lot of folks will do is you can catch that. If it's a headless person, if you're browsing without a monitor, you're not going to buy those sneakers. You're not going to buy that headphones. You can't even see it. So to get, you know, they will be kind of blocked right away. So a creative way um, some of these bot makers have tried to get around it is now what they do is they change the screen size. They'll make it a screen size that's the only way to get to that screen size is by coding it, but it's still not on an actual monitor. So they're still browsing headless, but they're projecting that, hey, I'm actually this weird kind of screen size dimension. And well, when you look at it, we know that's not humanly possible. So that's another way they try to get around us, and that's how we catch them. It's a constant cat and mouse game.
Right. Is there ever a way that you can get ahead of them, or are you always or is it always going to be cat and mouse? Is there a way you can be proactive? And is there a way to find like the source of these bot farms and be able to shut them down or somehow like prevent them from ever being able to relaunch? Or is it's just always going to be cat and mouse? It's going to be like finding, like chasing down terrorists, or crime.
Well, technically, a majority of these bots are not illegal. These bot farms are not illegal. They might violate the terms and services of certain websites,
Right.
but your average bot, it's not a criminal activity per se. And also,
Got it.
then
What does a bot? Let's just 1 minute. Let's talk about the criminal aspects of bots, and we'll go back to the overwhelming majority that aren't. What does a criminal bot look like? What does that mean? What is a criminal bot? What kind of activity would be criminal? Would it mean just like, is it stealing money, stealing data? Can you give an idea? What is it?
yes. So, like, obviously, when you break an existing law on the books, if the bot is doing something that's illegal in real life, if a human does it, it's illegal. I think Obama, I forget when he came out with the Bots Act, and he made like ticket scalping illegal. So it's kind of funny. Ticket scalping is illegal, but sneaker bots are not illegal. So the
Why?
law,
Wait. Why is ticket scalping illegal?
because that was the law introduced by Obama. I forget
What
exactly
did that have
when.
something to do with? Is that something to do with bots?
Yes, yeah, like scalpers were using bots to like buy up all the tickets, which is still
Okay, got
prevalent.
it. So let's
Like,
talk
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
So people were having trouble getting Taylor Swift tickets. Some would say
Mhm.
that someone was doing them a favor, but I'll leave opinions aside. With those that do
Mhm.
that, so from what I understood, actually in conversation with your team
Mhm.
earlier this week or last week, was that was actually those are bots that are coming on to Ticketmaster and being able to buy up all the tickets immediately faster than all of her fans, which is a massive fan base, were able to come in immediately and do. And then they were able to get it at retail, and then they're probably able to flip it for like 3x of scalpers or on
Mhm.
third party sites or whatever reseller sites. Um, doesn't Ticketmaster's been in business for a while?
Yeah.
They don't have a way that are they not your they don't have a way to prevent this, or is it just part of the cat and mouse game?
I think
That
I'm not.
they've been diligent, they're doing
Yeah.
everything they can, and then the bots here got more creative, and they found a way to circumvent the measures that Ticketmaster put in place.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the methodologies, the tools are constantly evolving. Like you asked, like how do we get ahead? Well, we have a team that's kind of sitting around, thinking of ways. What are the new ways that are coming around? So we constantly have like tests and challenges that are in R&D and beta, and then they get pushed into production. There's a whole methodology behind that. But with Ticketmaster, I'm not sure what kind of bot mitigation efforts they have in place. And obviously, they're a massive target. It's Ticketmaster. Um, so that kind of segues into this one question I get asked a lot is like, and even you asked, like 40% is a lot. Why is it so high? Well, a lot of it is the bot makers doing R&D because they want to get to Ticketmaster. So folks like your company become like collateral damage. They're just floating around the web, testing things out, clicking on stuff, building profiles, trying to be as human as possible. So when time comes, they can deploy those same profiles and those tools and techniques to go after Ticketmaster. In the meantime, before they get to them, they're practicing their tradecraft on your site.
Mhm. Got it. So these fake profiles. Let's talk about LinkedIn for a minute, if we could.
Mhm.
Um, there's been a lot of bots on LinkedIn, and I have to say they are super impressive. These people look as human as most humans. They have headlines that are relevant. They have photos that are AI generated that you couldn't tell whether you would never be able to tell if they're real or not. It's amazing. They have engagement, which looks legitimate. They have a full detailed profile about section and everything.
Yeah.
One is, what are they using to? Are they using, like, was it a chat CBG? What is that? The
GPT.
new GPT?
Yeah.
Like, basically, like, you see that AI where I which is amazing, by the way. Are they using just AI to basically, in a sense, not to create a profile, make a photo, and fill out a very detailed profile? Is that what they're doing? Because it's amazing. I'm reading these about section. I'm like, clearly no human sat there and wrote all of these. We had one of our influencers shared one of our clients' posts for Cyfluencer. We do influencer marketing for cybersecurity as one of our services. And then it ended up going viral. And then in addition to that, we're like 33 shares on LinkedIn. That's very unusual, right? It's not
Yeah.
like Twitter, where retweets is very common. And so two of them were real and 31 were fake. And like, I was going through these profiles and I was looking at them. I reported to LinkedIn, that did nothing. As far as I know, never got back to me. And they went, and it went through. I was like, wow, these all look really human, and these all look the same. Like the how they're set up and all that. When I looked at
Mhm.
30 of them at a time, I was able to see that. Is there a bigger bot issue on LinkedIn than Twitter or on Facebook? Because I think there's a human. It's easier for you to be human, I think, on LinkedIn or Facebook. You're more likely to have to be human than as opposed to bot. Would you agree with that? Just by the nature of the platform?
Again, their policies are changing. The platforms are changing. Just the other day, I was joking that the platforms are kind of like the cell phone providers in the U.S. here. It's kind of like, Verizon is the best, and then AT&T and T-Mobile kind of switch places in terms of service and coverage. And then you have like the laggards in the bottom where they don't have good coverage, and they kind of trade places every so often. It's the same thing with the platforms. As they evolve, change policies, implement things, they kind of will trade places in the level of bots and fake profiles you're seeing. Um, from like a profile itself perspective, uh, I haven't really dug into it. In my day to day, I see more in terms of like the paid marketing fraud from which platforms they're coming. And in that aspect, with the fake clicks and the bot clicks on paid ads, uh, generally, like, Facebook surprisingly is the cleanest right now. And Twitter's kind of just fluctuating every so often.
Right. Yeah. Which there's a lot of fluctuation there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things that I also noticed was, this came out a year ago. They did it very quietly. Is LinkedIn banned China from using LinkedIn because they were actually using it
Mhm.
for spies. So I found
Yeah.
that to be very fascinating. Is that something, even though these are nefarious and evil actors, is that something that you can pick up on when they're actually humans or governments behind it? Or would you say the main thing that you're able to look out for and what you understand best is bots in particular?
What we understand best is bots and invalid in terms of automation. So the differentiator is, if it's Yoel just sitting there kind of plugging away at the keyboard, even
That's
though
exactly how I type, by the way. Just so
chicken pecking
you
away.
know.
But yeah, if it's a human bad actor, putting in fake data, things of that nature, uh, fake profiles, uh, those are much harder to detect. Those are what we classify as human and malicious, human but malicious, and that's again a new field that's being developed currently to detect that. Uh, where we excel is being able to detect a bot or an automation tool. It's a non-human user. So anytime you want to deploy something at scale, human is going to be very hard to scale, which some people still do. Like if labor is cheap in certain countries, they will deploy like these kind of fake user farms where they'll employ people just to like click away manually and set up stuff. Otherwise, the best way to deploy things at scale is through automation, and that's what we detect, and that's what the majority of that 40% invalid traffic is. It's that automation bot traffic.
Right. So it's hard to pick up these bad actors.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you can do or people can do to, like, if they know that, let's say there's a human scammer, not necessarily a bot?
In what respect?
Online. I mean, like, so you're like, we talked a little bit kind of like how you can maybe
Mhm.
notice this thing's a bot, right? How you be able to pick them up. They're doing a lot of the same acts. And maybe we should talk about more the human eye, not necessarily the technological eye.
Mhm.
But how can you tell that if someone's trying to scam you, or is it just the same old phishing thing? If you don't know who they are, don't click on any links, et cetera, et cetera. Don't accept any connection requests from people you don't know or in your network and things like that. Is there any way to avoid them, in your opinion, or is this probably a little bit beyond the scope of our conversation?
I would say it's a little beyond the scope of like what we do, but from a cybersecurity perspective, overall, overarching, it's what you mentioned. Be diligent in the links you're clicking. If you have emails, that come in, I know like if you have Gmail or something, they kind of concatenate or shrink the actual email address. Expand that. See exactly what email it came from. Like I get emails within our company. We kind of joke. We'll get emails from our CEO asking for our phone number. Hey, what's your phone number again? I know that's not my CEO asking for my number.
Neil, what is your phone number?
555.
555.
But yeah, things like if your mom is calling you like, hey, I need money immediately through email, call her up. Verify.
Right.
eh,
Right.
Things like that. But that's like the social engineering aspect of cybersecurity. That's like a little bit beyond the scope and purview of CHEQ.
All right, got it. Cool, lovely. Um, when it comes to fraud, is it how are like these bots? I'm trying to understand what is it in for them financially if it's not criminal, if they're not stealing. Like, what are they trying to do?
It
Like, are they just like, are people like actually taking time to build bots, putting money into it just to screw up my client's data? Like, what are they trying to do? I don't get it.
To be honest, the vast majority are probably not coding anything. They're just buying the bot. Bots are relatively cheap, depending on the complexity of the bot. If you don't have the skill set to code something yourself, you can just buy it. There's also like these developer communities that share techniques. You will see on there all the time people asking, hey, how do I get around this security feature or do this? And somebody else will code up a solution for them. And these are just kind of like think tanks, helping fellow developers and engineers thinking like of a cool way of building something, not realizing that these guys are going to deploy those tools in a bad way. But there's like levels to it. Fundamentally, what the vast majority is they're trying to build up these profiles, like I mentioned, to go after the Ticketmasters of the world, the Googles, the Facebooks, these big walled gardens and corporations that have massive resources to protect themselves, where there is a monetary gain to be made. Well, you got to prep for that. You can't just attack them and be successful from the get-go. You have to build up these profiles that will be harder to detect. You have to build up this history. So if they're trying to
Wait,
make
wait, wait! Look at this! Look at this! Look at this! Look at this! Yes, yes, we got a bot
oh, here we go.
from YouTube. Love it. Okay, so why don't we pack X Girls XYZ? So, all right. So, how did they find us? It's 3 identical comments here. One with a heart at the end, one with a kiss. I'm so happy this happened. This makes me so happy. And then this one with no emoji at the end. Okay. So let's have a good time and find your love, Neil. How did this bot, we're streaming live, right? We put the description up.
Mm-hmm.
How did they find my YouTube channel and why? How are they engaged? And by the way, thank you. Just so you guys know, YouTube algorithm loves comments. So like, I love that. So it's great that they do that. Thank you. More people are going to find this. So you shouldn't delete even like the haters, their comments. Usually the hate speaks for themselves. So we got a bot here. We're doing it live. This is so exciting. I wonder maybe there's like one of you, someone that like someone did this as a joke just to kind of get us to pull this up. I'm always curious. Usually I wonder if a human is actually a bot. Now I'm wondering if a bot's actually human. So we got a bot here. How did they find, let's say, this YouTube live that we're doing through StreamYard?
It was maybe it was triggered by something in our conversation, or more than likely it was triggered by something in the comments that a legitimate person might have kept. This might be a little bit off the wall. I just last night I was reading this post of this lady who kind of validated that there's still bots on Twitter, and the way she did it is just by typing out sugar daddy. You type sugar daddy, and it's like a Pied Piper's call for all of the bots that just flood her comment section and her DMs. So you don't really know what the trigger is, but we triggered.
Could they? Okay, so let's dive in here, right? So I don't know what it is that made them think that we want to have a good time and find your love. I like to have a good time, but I found my love already. But my question is, are they crawling or obviously like picking up the audio and then maybe using certain words, being able to, like right now, like live, did they maybe like pick up our voice? Obviously, it's not hard to transcribe. It triggered a bot to then go ahead and leave a comment. Is that something that's happening too? Or is it just basically on reading text?
I wouldn't put it past it, but personally, to be honest, that would be me speculating. It's very plausible. I don't have like historical evidence to kind of say that's definitely what's happening. More than likely, they're just reading text. So they either followed somebody who put a comment in one of the feeds, or it was a word in the comment section that kind of like.
Right, got it. So it's text, kind of like Google search. Anyway, this is fun. For all the bots out there, if you have any more, drop them. Please entertain us. Talia asks, how do I protect a B2B business from bots that fake click my ads?
With CHEQ Paradigm, that's
yeah. I know. Look at Nico. Nico's like, Talia, use CHEQ, right?
Oh, there we go.
But let's put aside this shameless plug, and let's say you can't afford CHEQ, and let's say you're a very small B2C or small company. Not even your mom and pop.
Yeah.
CHEQ isn't relevant. Or your small B2B, you're an early startup, you have like no money, you're not yet ready for CHEQ. CHEQ's on the radar, right? So what can we do as advertisers that aren't yet ready for CHEQ? We're not yet big enough, can't yet afford it. What could we do to prevent it? Is there any kind of wording or messaging we can use in order to prevent it? I'll give you an interesting example, by the way, for some automated, not necessarily bots, it's bots, but by human LinkedIn profiles. I know some people that will put before their first name on LinkedIn an emoji. Because then when they automate like, hey, first name, and they know if they added the emoji first name, then, obviously it's an automation. This person didn't manually send it.
Yeah.
Right. Even though they intended to, they're just doing mass outreach or whatever, right? You might be for your audience. So like there are ways to like find out with like LinkedIn outreach, LinkedIn messages, certain things that you can do to circumvent it. But when it comes to advertising, via LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., Facebook, Reddit, Quora, how are we able to prevent bots?
You need a bot mitigation effort. Without it, there isn't really any way you're going to be able to stop them. If you're not, big enough for CHEQ, we have a smaller product called ClickSees. That's for the mom and pop, like your local plumber, local locksmith, kind of per somebody who's just spending very few digital ad dollars. For them, it's a month-to-month, like super cheap service, kind of like Netflix.
How much is it?
To be honest, I'm not sure, 100% sure on the pricing. Maybe like $50 a month or something like that. It depends on how much your ad spend is. But it's like Netflix. It's relatively cheap, no contract, nothing. But it will solve. It was designed for what you mentioned, the mom and pops and folks who are spending very few digital dollars. Short of that, there isn't anything you could do to stop the bots from clicking on your ads, unless you're going to build out your own mitigation solution. If you're going to code something out, with like Google, for example, you could track your.
I wanted to ask about search engines, actually. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, with like Google and Bing, you have the ability of plugging in like a limited number of IPs that you can block. So you could theoretically like be looking every day at IPs who are clicking on
Oh
your
God, I
ad.
had a cybersecurity client. They made us do that. It took forever.
Yeah,
I was like, 80% of our time is IP exclusions. I was like,
it's tedious. Like IPs get flipped like that, you know. Like
I know, right?
yeah, I do a lot of testing on our clients, and I have to like every hour look up what's the IP right now, so I can kind of track it in the database. Because even my IP flips and changes frequently.
Are bots crawling search engines and like clicking on your ads or your organic? And if so, why?
Yeah, definitely. They're clicking like if the code says, you know, go to google.com, put in a ad for your like bicycles, and then whatever the first ad pops up, more than likely it's going to be a paid ad. So that they'll just click on the first link. That's probably how it's coded. Um, and then you know go to the website, do certain activities, and then get out. They're trying to, like I said, they're trying to mimic a human user to build up that profile. So in the future, they can get around the more complex cybersecurity and bot mitigation efforts. Organically, it's even higher because Google, Facebook, like all of the paid platforms have some sort of bot mitigation efforts in place. So they're already cleaning out that traffic for you. Organically, there's nothing stopping a bot coming straight to your site. You know, it's kind of like if your house has a door and doesn't have a door. The Googles of the world have put a door that at least stops some bots from like breaking through, but organically there is literally no door. They can come to walk straight into your house.
Right.
And as to the why, it's you know their motivations. Again, building out the profiles is the most fundamental ones. They're trying to be as human as possible to get around the more complex bot mitigation efforts. And then there's others where there is some kind of payout at the end. There is like some way to monetize that activity. You know, if it's they're trying to get access to PII information, so they're going to maybe sell that down the line. Something
Got
of
it.
that
It's
nature.
mostly just to resell data, right? No one's
Yeah.
there like clicking your ads because they're a dick. And also Google's good at finding these and invalidate these clicks.
Yeah.
But to answer Ben's second question, why would they target you? Because they want you to have a good time and find your love. Sorry, that was too fun. Jameson asks, we know that this rant is rampant on social media, but if you work with music stream, that's a good question. Music streaming services on bot mitigation.
We don't have anything right now for the music streaming services, but
Jameson,
I
if you can elaborate why you're asking, if you've seen
yeah.
anything that can add to the conversation, leave a comment. And of course, someone else has any comments or questions, pull them up. Sorry for interrupting you. Yeah, Neil?
Oh, I was just gonna say it's funny. Jameson brings that up because I know like Spotify has a bot issue where uh, you know bots are used to kind of inflate certain plays and things of that nature.
What do you? Oh, got it. Okay, so like if you want to rank, you can be like so you want to get like
Yeah,
the top of like Apple Music or whatever, you
yeah.
can actually do that.
Mhm.
If I wanted to do so, if I wanted to do that, how did I do that? I'm just
You
curious.
buy you buy that Spotify bot. I forget the name. It was in the news. There's a specific name for that bot, but I forget that name. It would push like certain playlists and things of that nature.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Are people doing that on YouTube too to get views too?
Yes. Um,
Probably even more
YouTube is
so, right?
also ads because you know YouTube serves ads, so there's a lot of fake ad clicks and things of that nature from YouTube.
Right. Well, what? Yeah, Jameson's confirming what we asked. Another comment. What platform is there when it comes to advertising? Where do you see the most abuse? Click fraud abuse. Like, how'd you rank them? Is there like one or two that's prevalent? Like, I guess I would assume Twitter ads, which hopefully with the
Yeah,
verification that's rolled out, that will be improved. Matt,
all
you
of
could
them.
just target people that are verified, which basically gets rid of all the bots.
Mhm.
That's a targeting feature. So they've fixed that. It's amazing they went from the worst to they can potentially go from the worst to the best. You know what I mean? Like relatively quickly when it comes to bots for advertising. If you just choose bot features, it's like when Taco Bell had such a bad reputation for being the most dirtiest
Yeah.
fast food chain, and they actually turned it around to the point now they're ranked the cleanest, but they still have the reputation, of course.
All of the platforms are all like pretty close. They're all relatively clean. if I were to rank them best to worst right now, and again, like I said, the rankings change, as things change. Like this week, it's, Meta is at the top, Instagram, Google search.
For what? For cleanest, you mean? For
the least amount of
the cleanest. Yeah.
The cleanest traffic. So the platforms themselves are good, but then like once you start using, some of the platforms offer syndicated networks. Once you start using those and you start going off of those platforms, that's when you're not getting the best traffic. It's much more harder to keep it clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense. If anyone has any more bots want to join our conversation, you're welcome to. Have you identified any companies who are behind the click fraud? Yo, he wants you to name names. He's trying to make enemies.
I'm sure there's folks in CHEQ who know. I personally don't know of any specific companies.
It'd be a fun business model. Obviously, I'm joking. Is that you since you know so much about them, you can sell sell the bots, and then go there, and then also sell to the scammers, and then go to your customers and tell them that we're the best at cleaning this up because you know how to do it.
Yeah, I am pretty sure I would get fired instantly.
Yeah, I know. I think you'll have much bigger problems than fired. I think sure there's some.
Our CEO is like very, very passionate about like the fraud and the bots and the click fraud. Like we've had clients, who've asked like, will you come testify in court for certain cases? I heard through the grapevine, and we were like, are we allowed to do that? And the CEO was like, yeah, I'll testify. They're bad actors. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Why not? It's also good marketing, no?
Okay.
Isn't it?
I think for him, I feel like it's coming more from the heart for him.
Oh yeah. I spoke with an Israeli company, Cybera. They weren't allowed to say then, but now they can. They were the one privately testifying on behalf of Elon Musk of how many bots and fraud is actually on the platform when he was trying to lawyer against having to go through with acquisition. Corey recommends Bright Data. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Next up, fraud here. We got a question. What is the percentage of fake profiles that you find on average and the leads of your clients? That's interesting. So there's a difference between clicks. Now we're talking about leads. So are you finding that, like, obviously they're crawling around and they're very disproportionate. They're far more impressions probably than clicks. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're counting to a bigger percentage of clicks than they are impressions. Let's say bots are human. Are they filling out forms also? Are you finding bots to do that, like as in leads? But like, what's in it for them other than trying to waste the budgets of the companies that are advertising, right? Because no one's really, they'll just send them an email, will bounce. Yeah. Maybe they're filling out forms, so they'll actually email them, and then they'll reply and get like a phishing attack. I don't know. I'm throwing ideas out there. If any scammers want some ideas, you're welcome. What do you think, Neil?
I would say all of the above. I'm sure they have thought of it, but the leads is even more nefarious. Like the fake leads are filling out. Bots are definitely filling out the form fills and.
Oh yeah, I know that because it's always I get these like 6 a day like through our website. Know what to do about it. They crawl like not necessarily like ads per se, but they do that too. But I'm talking about they'll crawl like websites to find like /contact. And then they'll know what the field forms are, and then they'll put it in, and then they'll find marketing companies because I'll get like, we'll help you buy backlinks for your client's SEO, outsource your marketing services to Ukraine, whatever it is, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? And it's obvious, like obviously no one came manually to my website. They don't know who I am, where I am, never heard of us. It's clearly that are bots that are calling marketing companies, finding the contact page, and then based on the forums, filling out the right information using bots. So, I mean, people are using it in a way to find business, right? I mean, I know people, like we said, people are using bots for automation for LinkedIn outreach. That's very normal. I know a lot of people doing that. It's expected almost actually to this point. And then we see what people filling out contact form pages. Would you say most of these times these aren't necessarily bad actors, but are playing an obnoxious numbers game that are spamming people just looking for business? Would you say that's the bulk of the time, or no, or just the bulk of the time they're just straight up criminals?
It depends on the type of the form. It depends on the type. If it's a contact us versus like a book a demo for a B2B versus a form for a university versus a form at a fintech company. It varies. So, for example, the more nefarious reason would be for data validation. So you buy a massive list of personal information, million rows of records. You don't know how many are still valid, what's still good data. So you got to clean it up, and the more stringent the form fill, the better it is. So the stronger the form itself that you're kind of submitting this data through, the better it is for validating your data. So if you want to validate, is this email address still valid? Is this high school a legitimate high school? Is this phone number still good? Write up a piece of script, find a good form, run it through it. It'll clean the data for you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, question: CAPTCHAs, are they legit? What's up with them? They're freaking annoying. Are they? The CAPTCHAs, like click all of the we did before. Prove that you're human.
Yeah.
Just by me clicking, I'm not a robot. A bot can't figure that out. Like, how effective are these things, and how does this technology work, and why can't bots overcome them, or why are these so hard to?
They are effective, but they have an expiration date. The bots get smarter. That's where you have, CAPTCHA.
The cat and mouse. Right.
Yeah. You have entire CAPTCHA farms. You have, you could have for certain bots where, they need a little human intervention. So when they come to the CAPTCHA part, a human will intervene, figure it out quickly and move on. So again, like I said, countries where labor is cheap, you could have these entire kind of setups where you have an actual human user figuring out those CAPTCHAs. You could have certain pieces of script written and where the machine figures out the CAPTCHA if the CAPTCHA is not as complex, if it's a more simpler CAPTCHA. So there's ways around it, but it just makes it a little
so they're
hard.
succeeding. So would you say, like, how much is what? Okay, when I went to a website, VPN and incognito, I was testing a search of a client, seeing if they came up organically, and then it just made me click, I'm not a robot. What, a robot can't click, I'm not a robot? I don't get it.
They have like other things going in the back
I understand. Yeah. What's the tech behind it? That's what I'm asking. Because from the sounds of it, these are extremely sophisticated, AI generated. They're learning and updating themselves and with human input regularly. They're not able to pick up the good old click, I'm not a robot. I don't get, like, what's the tech behind it?
I'm sure like making you click is a little bit more friction. And this is again a hypothetical. They might have two separate workflows. So anyone who is made to click, to make sure they're not human, you're probably being pushed down a different workflow where they're taking a more deeper look at certain parameters for you, or they might not be actioning upon you.
Now, I would say the average person might be thinking, like, goes back to one of the earlier questions here. Is that, like, I haven't seen any bots. I haven't known of any bots. Why do bots affect me? I'm an employee. I'm not a business owner. I'm not an advertiser. They're like, why do I care about bots? What would your response have been like? Yeah, they're there, but they're not really affecting your life in any way that you notice. So, like, you have other things to worry about, or should we scare people for fun?
No, they are affecting your life. They're affecting Taylor Swift fans. Can't get the Taylor Swift concert.
Right.
You
Okay,
can't
like that,
buy
right.
sneakers at MSRP.
Uh-huh.
It's they are, even though you don't own the business, they are definitely affecting your life.
They're getting in the way between you and your personal business that you want to do online.
Yeah,
Around it,
or
right?
like you mentioned, nobody wants to get hassled by a bot. Like, hey, are you looking for a good time? Like, come on, nobody wants to get spammed.
Well, unless you don't know that
Unless
it's
you're
spam and
looking
you're
for a
looking
good
for a good
time.
time, then who knows?
Yeah.
Corey asks, how many anti-detection, anti-fingerprint browsers are you seeing now that there are like 30 different browsers doing this? Is it prolific? Right. So when I set up the code of my phone, I have a Galaxy. I think I remember they said that your PIN is more secure than your face, which is more secure than your thumb. or it could be the thumb of their finger. What's the order, and why is a pin more secure than my thumb?
That I did not know.
My
That is
fingerprint.
beyond me. And I believe what this gentleman is asking is a little bit different from that. He's
I know,
asking,
right? Yeah, it just making me
yeah,
think of that. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I think he's asking for the various ways you kind of fingerprint devices and profiles together. You're taking multiple parameters, putting it together to come up with a unique profile. And there's like different fingerprinting methodologies to like track people on the internet. You know, when they say they still don't want to be tracked. Um, so we're still able to track like all of the browsers and things of that nature. Um, but it more so than the different browsers itself, I think now what some of the folks are doing is they're using older tech. That's because the older tech doesn't have it might not necessarily have the anti-fingerprinting, anti-detection capabilities, but at the same time, they are more vulnerable to be manipulated by the folks that kind of create the bots. So you know, you can kind of mold an older tech browser, Internet Explorer per se, to do things that might be harder to detect by the newer detection technologies.
I haven't heard anyone say the words Internet Explorer in like 4 years, so that was like a
It's
that's like
still
a
being
throw.
used. It's still being
Uh,
used by.
uh, uh, I'm sure, but don't they have like Microsoft Edge now? Don't they have a new browser or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah, but
can you
if you're using it legitimately, these guys are not, it's not for legitimate purposes you would use Internet Explorer.
right, right. There's no real reason to use Internet
Yeah.
Explorer. You heard it here. Anyone else you want to rip on while we're at it?
No,
So,
no.
I mean,
Maybe I shouldn't have gone there. Sorry.
come on, I can go deeper. Is Mark Zuckerberg a human or a bot? That's what I want to.
This question still needs to be answered.
No, right. There's something CHEQ doesn't know
Mhm.
that we don't know for sure. Can bots somehow, I don't know if they hack your phone or something, steal your fingerprint? Wondering.
Again, beyond my purview and skill set.
All right, cool. So you don't know everything. You heard it
No.
here first, everyone. All right. Well, if you're looking for love, we know where we want to go. Neil, I wanted to thank you so much. This is a lot of fun. If you can leave, let's say, someone with one tip specifically for them to, let's say, keep things secure, in addition to a plug, which we'll make sure to do in a moment,
Mhm.
like what's the one tip people can do going forward that they can ease, like they can just implement now, that they can just recognize bots or avoid bots or prevent bots? Like if you can just do like, or a little security tip just for people to know to prevent themselves, their organization from being scammed. What do you think is one of the, like a very effective tip that people can learn from?
Two things. The first thing, try to avoid syndicated networks if you can. Stay on the main platform. And second, you have to get, if you are a marketing organization, you have to have some kind of bot mitigation efforts in place to protect the marketing vector of your organization. Because, like for example, the IT team, the CISO, those guys, not all cybersecurity is the same. There's different types, and the priorities for those guys are different from what it is for the marketing team. So you should need, or you need to have cybersecurity and bot mitigation efforts that are specific to your organization.
Got it. Awesome. Neil, if people wanted to learn more, where can they go?
uh, Check AI. I would say sign up for your, free. We offer free 2-week monitoring just to see the level of traffic that's coming to your site, how bad it is or how good it is. There are times we find like, yeah, you guys are doing well enough, and we might not be a justified cost. On the other times, we're like, you need us right now. But the scan will let you know. It's a 2-week free monitoring traffic scan at CHEQ AI.
Awesome. And you have some, and on your website, you have that like $50 a month or some smaller packages for smaller companies, right? Can we find that at checkout.ai too, or is that a different domain?
That's a different domain. That's clickseas.com.
Click C's dot. Okay,
Yeah.
Cease doesn't stop. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Yoel Israel, founder of Wadi Digital Influencer. And since we have CHEQ here, I might as well plug. We have more cybersecurity clients than any other marketing agency in the world. And if you need help with cybersecurity, influencer marketing, advertising, SEO, or social media, we're here to help. Neil Patel, CHEQ, thank you so much for help keeping the world a safer place and a more fun place to be online. Thanks for joining me.
Awesome. Thank you.